Hello folks, back on this beautiful sunny November day to do another video. In the past I've done videos on where you can buy instruments and what the quality is. I've talked about rondo music, how it's a great online source for electrics and acoustics, unbeatable prices really for the quality you get, particularly with their Agile range. Most of their Douglas guitars and some of their SX guitars, very good. Monoprice, also excellent value. I haven't tried one of the new electrics yet, the Indio series, but I did do a video of their Cedar Top electric acoustic and also one of their Foothill entry-level electric acoustics, which is great value for money. I also did one on the shopping network, brands like Randy Jackson and Keith Urban, which we determined make reasonable guitars with some setup. Some work is going to be required in that area, and there again the quality is a bit iffy. You might get lucky, you might get one that's not so good. Today I want to explore, can you actually get a good guitar at Walmart? Well, I don't shop at Walmart. I don't really like going there. I don't really like the ambience. I avoid those big chains as much as possible. I don't like shopping. It's either small, independently owned stores, shops for me, or online or eBay or some other auction site. So I don't really shop there anyway. Some of the stuff I've seen from Walmart is fairly poor quality. I know First Act makes some reasonable models. They've even got some big players putting out signature models that are supposedly not bad. But the ones that I've seen and worked on are really poor, and I wouldn't advise people to buy them. One that is okay is this guitar made by Spectrum, which is often sold at Walmart, maybe Target too, I'm not sure. I should tune it. Tune it a step down. So it's not bad. It's an all mahogany. This is model's an all mahogany. It's bound all the way. It's got a rosewood board, mother of pearl. I don't know if they're real. Inlays. It's got your typical purple rosette and your stock chrome tuners. But this thing, when I got it, needed a lot of work, particularly frets. And this is where I tend to see major problems with these massive corporations and selling guitars. I think they just drop ship them from the factories. They go to Walmart, they get put out on the floor. There's no one at Walmart who knows anything about guitar setup, and I don't even think they're expected to do that. So they're usually sold in boxes to make them look attractive. Serious guitarists and musicians tend not to shop at Walmart for instruments. So they get the impulse buyers, perhaps someone looking for a Christmas present. And the major problem that I run into is frets. I mean, you can cut your hand with how sharp they are. And often the frets are poorly finished. They just don't do the extra mile on the setup. They're very quickly factory set up. The ends are sharp. Sometimes you find burrs on the frets. So I have to do a fret, not necessarily a fret level, but a fret dress and a fret end dress on anything I find like this Spectrum guitar, this quality. But there's enough material here to make a guitar. It just needs a lot of work. The other thing that I find too is they must barely cut these nut slots, because they're always cut too high. The strings don't sit in them properly. Then they don't look like they've been filed with the correct size file for the string. So you get string binding, and then you get a lot of sharp notes down at the bottom because the nuts are sitting too high. So after the frets, I typically have to either recut the nut slots or even take some meat off the bottom of the saddle because it's sitting too, the bottom of the nut because it's sitting too high. Third thing is, of course, your action, which is corrected by the saddle here. And this one here has got plenty of room in the saddle to go up, to go down if I need to go down further, and I don't. It's sitting in the right area. But sometimes you find guitars that are very close here, and there's hardly any saddle left, and you don't have any room to go down. And then you're looking at a major restoration with removing wood from the bridge to seat the strings lower. So that's something you should look for. How high is the saddle? Do you have room to go either way if you have to, if you're going to buy one of these cheap guitars? Third thing, of course, is the neck. How straight is the neck? The problem with a lot of these very, very cheap guitars is that they're made with the wrong kind of hardwoods and often do not have a truss rod. Now this one is a mahogany neck, it's a rosewood board, and it has a truss rod. So this one I could correct the curvature of the fretboard. But I've seen other cheap guitars at Target, at Walmart, at other major brand, even at places like Costco, that don't have any way to correct the neck angle. So if the neck angle's off, if the intonation's off, you're limited in what you can do. In a lot of cases, you've just got a guitar that's just not worth putting the money into. So I would say if you're going to buy from Walmart, don't buy anything less than one of these Spectrums, or buy a higher end model online. Don't just pick one up at the store, because I think they don't carry a very big selection. They tend to just carry the cheapest, nastiest models in the actual shops. But this one came to me, and I know that these are stocked, sold by Walmart. This is a Spectrum guitar. Interestingly enough, the label is gone from the inside. Or maybe there was never one in there, so there's no model number. I have no way to know what the model number is on this. Sometimes you find instruments that are prototypes that they make and just sold off, don't have model numbers. I suspect this is probably just a case of the label being removed or falling out. But it's I know that they do a fairly typical range of acoustics, including Dreadnought and Dreadnought cutaways. One in the all mahogany like this, which looks like Sapelli to me, and the other in a more traditional, or albeit plywood, spruce and mahogany. But this needs a lot of work. If I had bought this and I didn't have any lutherie skills or guitar tech skills, I would have taken it back, because it's just unplayable as it came to me. So I just thought I'd do a video on that. Be very, very careful. I would say if you don't have any setup skills, go to a place where they actually work on guitars, where they have people that are knowledgeable about guitars, how they work, how they're set up, different strings, who can do adjustments for you. If you can find a small independently owned guitar shop, even better, because Guitar Center's the Walmart of music shops, and you're supporting a big corporate chain that's killing everyone by buying from them too. So if you can find a small independent shop, or if you can find somebody who sets up guitars and sells them online, someone like me, do that. Or buy them on the used market where you can go and try them out before you buy them. But if you're going to buy from one of these big corporate stores, go through the materials before you pick one up. Make sure it has a truss rod. Make sure there's enough meat in the saddle. Make sure that it has a real rosewood fretboard. Make sure that it looks clean all the way around. If it's in a box and you can't see the body, don't buy it. Make sure you can pick it up and at least look at it before you buy it. Alright, that's enough from me waffling on. That's a Spectrum guitar. Not great, but with a setup, perfectly fine entry-level acoustic. See you next time.